Okay, and hello there. Today is Tuesday, and when it's Tuesday, that means it must be time to talk about boxing. Originally, we had a guest scheduled today, Marty Schuler, who is the brother of Philadelphia legend James Schuler, and he's starting a promotional company that's going to be based right here in Atlantic City. And so we were going to talk about that today, as well as he is also a trainer. He started the Schuler Gym back after his brother was killed in an accident with a motorcycle. And next week, hopefully, he'll get a chance to be with us, and we'll give you the whole story. I want him to be able to tell it because he can tell it right. And you know how it is, you're getting secondary information, doesn't necessarily come across the same way. So, but he had an unfortunate situation that changed, couldn't make it. So anyway, we're going to talk boxing still. So saying the show must go on. But we're going to talk about today is we're going to cover the Errol Spence and Shawn Porter fight that's coming up Saturday night. And we've been talking about it for a long time, and it's perhaps one of the biggest shows that well, outside of the Manny Pacquiao show, I guess the Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman. And if you look at Joshua Ruiz, but it's definitely the biggest fight, I think, in the welterweight division. I think it's a make or break fight for Porter, but more for Errol Spence than anything. Because if Spence cannot beat Showtime, there's a problem. He said the one thing that most people have not said, and Julio Sanchez just walked in the door, so he'll be joining me in a minute. But he's just said the one thing that I felt had to happen. The winner of this fight will have to fight Manny Pacquiao. And Errol Spence has said that I will fight Manny Pacquiao, right? And of course it is, because that's where the money fight is. This movie, Julio's going to come in and join us, so I'll be shifting a little bit. But that's where the money fight's going to come in, right? So now, my thing is this. When you start talking about the great welterweights, right? And you got Leonard, and that's kind of why I was hoping Schuler could have come in, because Schuler did fight Tommy Hearns when he was at the height of his career. The fight didn't last very long, but it was
an NBF title?
Yeah. It didn't last very long. It was like a 1-round knockout, I think, but let me have those. Thank you. And so, but it was the first big fight that Schuler had, but it was an important fight. This fight between Porter and Spence, to me, actually sets the tone for the welterweight, because if Porter beats Spence, like his style or what, he's the king. He's on top.
He's the guy.
Even regardless of what Terrence.
Be the man. You got to be the man. Crawford. They haven't fought anybody.
Haven't fought anybody. Someone sent me something today, and he showed me the list of guys that Shawn Porter has fought. Right?
Everybody.
Then he showed me the list of, and I hadn't really thought. Sometimes we give the, and not to say that Errol doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Because someone sent me an email, told me, and the thing was about, Errol Spence is my homeboy, so and so. And I sent back on the thing and it said, don't mess with Texas, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we tend to put this extra great, good on a guy
that hasn't earned it yet.
Yeah. He beat up a lightweight Mike, and I watched the Garcia fight last night again. That was
the least impressive.
The least impressive, because I thought this was a guy that he really should have gotten.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot give up the ground on Shawn Porter.
No.
Like you did on.
I think he took Garcia for granted, and he knew he wasn't a threat, so he cruised a lot of that fight.
I agree.
And as far as him not fighting nobody, the only thing I'll say, a feather in his cap is, for what it looks like, he has a hard time getting guys to want to fight him.
Yeah.
So I can't put big names on my resume when big names don't want to take a risk to fight me.
You look at the Kell Brook, right? And then the other.
He completely broke him down.
Yeah, he broke him down, and I thought that was one of, to me, that's when I became a Spencer guy.
Me also.
He took him down, kind of like Lomachenko when he fought Waters, I think it was the waiters, the kid named from Jamaica. He broke him down.
Yeah.
He made him just like, basically, I'm going to quit. I've done the best I can do, and there's no more.
How many welterweights you see break a guy's eye socket?
Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
Not many. So when you start thinking about the concept of saying, okay, Errol Spence is the best, Terrence Crawford's here, Shawn Porter's here, Manny Pacquiao is here, then you kind of, that's that. I guess you want to say the top four, because I understand Thurman now is hurt again,
The only thing I can say is that I would have to differ. I can't put Crawford in even the top four right now, because who's he for the welterweight? Like, I think that's disrespectful to Danny Garcia, who fought two of those guys you named, and lost controversial decisions in both of those fights.
And that's funny you should say that, because I didn't mention. You're right. I didn't mention Garcia. You're right. I didn't even mention Garcia, because sometimes a guy loses a fight, right? And the guy said, "Oh, well, he lost," but then that just wasn't his night. But as you said, Danny's decision was kind of controversial in one of those fights. So it's like, okay, now, so let's put Danny back in the picture. But if we're talking about a four-fight tandem, what I would like to see personally, it might not happen, but what I would like to see is Terrence fight Garcia.
And I think that would be a great fight also. But if I'm Terrence, I'm not taking that fight.
Well,
because fortunately for him, nobody's talking about Danny right now. They got me ahead of him, so why should I go back and take that risk? I'm just saying, as a boxing purist, I think Danny deserves to be there. But the general public already has Terrence Crawford ahead of him. So, I mean, that fight does nothing really for Terrence Crawford. It does everything for Danny Garcia. But, although Danny, to me, should be the bigger name at 47 right now.
He should be. You know, I remember. I'll tell you this much, and I knew Jenks Morton and Mike training those guys. When Leonard took the fight with Tommy Hearns, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody really knew. They knew of Tommy Hearns, but nobody
people knew.
Didn't know who Tommy Hearns. And Ray did not have to take. It wound up being a very dangerous fight for Ray, as you well know, because with the eye socket and stuff going on later on, Ray didn't have to take that fight, but he did. So, but it also wound up making a hero. I won't say a hero. Yeah, well, boxing.
It made Ray Leonard a superstar.
It made Tommy Hearns a star. Yeah. Because why? Tommy was winning that fight. At least on my card, he was anyway, all the way through.
It was, I mean, according to Ray Leonard's trainer too. You're blowing it, kid.
Yeah, you're blowing. Yeah. So I mean, when you look at that, it's like certain fights can make a guy. So now you look at Crawford, and we look. Okay, let's revamp this one more time. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman is injured again. I see that. And of course, Manny Pacquiao.
Unless something drastically changes, I don't see Thurman being in that conversation no more.
I don't.
And not in the top five.
I think that because he's a New Yorker, first of all. There's always a market for a good New Yorker fight. You're right. So I think that's one reason he stays there. The problem is with him now coming back again, unless he decides to go to Bolivia somewhere and have a fight and nobody knows about it, to get himself back together, which wouldn't be a bad idea. He can't come back on the big stage and fight me again. You know what I mean? No. Can't do that because
you did that twice before,
right? And you lost to a 41 whatever fight
and got beat up.
Got beat up by the guy. So but he's on the outside looking in. Okay, now you got guys that are starting to move up again in these ways. Even I'm not saying Gervonta Davis because those guys they're too small in their mind. Because I read somewhere the other day that he's been looking at the junior welters, man. I mean, he
said lightweight junior.
Yeah,
the guy that can potentially move all the way up there, the little guy, is Devin Haney, who spoke about having problems making 135.
Yes.
Now, if he's having problems making 135, and I think he's 19 years old right now.
Yeah.
You can 23, 24 years old. He's going to be at welterweight.
I actually spoke to one of his managers the other night, right? And he was telling me, he said, we Danny David, we got the belt, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, okay. But now the problem with that, and this is the problem I have even with the younger guys. You win the belts 22, 23 years of age.
No going backwards.
There's no going backwards.
You got to fight elite now.
Every time you go out. We had this discussion about with last week with Shakur Stevenson.
Because you may be good enough to beat the guy with the title. But are you good enough to consistently beat all the guys
There's
coming?
20 other guys that's under there in that top 20 that's coming up.
And most of them got a chip on their shoulder and an attitude against you because they've been around before you were.
Yeah.
You just skip to the front of the line.
To the front. I mean, so I see the port. This is how I've tried to look at it every way that I could. For the Spence. We're going to take some of your comments. I see you guys are commenting on Facebook, so we're going to take some of your comments after a while. We're just getting some things together, but I want to kind of go over this first because we're like revamping this without our scheduled guest today. But if you look at the direct, Porter has, I think, the ring experience. I'm going to go with that.
Because he's fought the tougher competition. There's no doubt about
gone
that.
the distance more times as well. Maybe not. I'm not going to give him I hate to. Listen, I know I can take a punch from a lightweight, let alone a welterweight. So I don't want to say the guy has no punch. But you consider that he's not the power puncher guy.
No. Here's the thing. The eye test, everything. If you look at the eye test, you just watch both fighters fight.
Mm-hmm.
Everything tells you that Spence is going to destroy him. If you just look, Spence looks like the more tooled, bigger, stronger fighters. We both know in boxing that don't mean nothing when the bell rings.
Nothing at all.
There's a lot of guys that fought Marvin Hagler that you looked at him before the fight. He said he's going to destroy him.
Mustafa Hamshaw was one. I thought with John the Beast Mugabe.
And when Hagler took his right hand, smiled, and came back, you know what I mean? That what looked like it was going to happen doesn't mean anything. So if Porter can make it an ugly fight,
you can win it.
And he can deal with Spence's power,
it's
going to be a very interesting night.
And that's the problem. I watched. They had a thing on PBC the other night, right? And they were showing a public workout with Errol. Great puncher. I give him that. Good trainer. Got a good, good with Derek James and his dad and all them behind him. Great backing behind him, right? But I watched a couple of his other fights that I had really paid attention because when you get a fight like this, if we're going to talk about it, you got to know.
You got to dissect.
You got to dissect it. He makes a lot of mistakes in throwing punches in the ring.
He does.
His feet tends to be behind him when he throws his hard shot. It's not directly on balance.
A lot of that I think has to do with he hasn't have to be on point.
Yeah, well,
all the time. He's fought guys that he can just walk to and through. So and that's the intriguing part about the fight. Porter's going to have to be able to deal with some stuff to be able to capitalize on some of those things. So that's the question.
Okay,
right
but you're Porter, right? I'm sorry, you're Spence. I'm Porter, right? I got to deal with your strengths, not your strength, but your strength. Okay, your strength is your power, right? That's your power. Now, how do I make that work against you? If I'm a guy like Porter,
I go to your body and I make you move your feet because we all know that if punchers can't set their feet, they can't punch with authority. So if I'm Porter, I'm looking to fight in real tight. Spence has the longer arms. He ain't going to get good leverage and power shots inside. And when I'm not in tight, I'm stepping around him and constantly making Spence reset. On the flip side, if I'm Spence, I just want to be first and meet him with my jab.
Right.
Fight and make him fight.
Out balance.
Exactly. Make him play catch up all night. So what the intriguing thing about boxing always is who's going to impose their will on who. So which one is going to be able to force their will and make the guy fight the fight he don't want to fight?
I watched in particular, and I think historically you be at fights and you get a chance to see, and I'm going to go to a heavyweight fight because if it ever was a guy, even though people thought and there was a fight, Holyfield and Bo first fight, right?
Great heavyweight fight.
Great heavyweight fight. But if there ever was a time that a fighter made a fighter change because this guy was better than had more in his arsenal than what he thought, Bo actually made Holyfield kind of change his game.
Absolutely.
Right? He made Evander want to become a power puncher, which Evander wasn't.
Because he couldn't outbox him.
He couldn't outbox him. See, now I'm wondering.
And he was fighting his sparring partner.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So now, here you are, you're Sean Porter, you're Errol Spence. Now, I'm in the ring. It comes across. Of course, the bell rings, and you start this thing. I'm not wondering, do I have a feeling process? Because you can't afford a fill-out process.
No.
Spence has got to go at him from the beginning.
Which is what he normally does.
Yeah.
The only time he didn't do it was against Garcia.
Well, okay, now, and why?
I think, to me...
You think Garcia's reputation...
I think he psyched him out.
Okay.
I think the same thing happened to Hagler in the Leonard fight. You remember Leonard Hagler? Hagler was a switch hitter, but his main style was southpaw. He was a left-hander. What did he box the first 3 rounds against Leonard? Right-handed? Why? Because Leonard said the whole build-up to the fight, he can't beat me right-handed. He can't fight me right-handed.
Right.
So he came... Spence, leading up into that fight every time, I will show you, I can outbox Mikey Garcia because Mikey knew he couldn't win a firefight.
Right.
So he figured he'd win a boxing match. So he made this guy, and it was foolish for Spence because I don't care what you say to me. All I have to do is win. I don't have to win the way you want me to win.
Right.
Boxing is the only sport where we critique how you win. You know what I'm saying? Football, you can grind it out on the ground if the other team's more powerful than you and stall and kill the clock. Basketball, you can play keep away, you can hold the ball. In boxing, if you win in a way that's not desirable to people to watch, then there's a problem. And he got psyched out.
And granted, I haven't seen all of his sport, and I've seen his fights. And most time people train a little different than they do, and they fight. But habits are habits. The one thing I noticed in the public workout he had in Dallas, is that he threw basically power punches.
He throws everything.
And I didn't see anything. And if you think that's what is going to stand there and let you hit, because he threw Broner off like that, and then the other guy, other one, it'll come to me in a minute. But the other one, the knockout guy.
I've always worried about a power puncher who wants to come out and load up. You tend to tire. But what Spence showed me against Kell Brook is that almost like the Mexican fighters, he's able to stay in that gear.
Yeah.
And if he's able to stay in that gear, it's going to be pretty tough for almost any welterweight to stand up to that for a long period.
And Derek's always said that they train for war. He
boxes the Charles brother, who's bigger than him. And I spoke with Ryan Shields the other day, and he was telling me that he says, well, I think Earl's going to knock this guy out now. And Ronnie is the kind of guy who's honest. What I like about him, he doesn't get. I got Earl in 7.
Yeah, and Ronnie said he didn't give me a round, but I think he'll knock him out. He said, but look, I've been around this stuff long enough to know that guys like Porter, they're upset minded because remember, Porter's not supposed to be here. He should have lost to Broner. He should have lost to Garcia.
He got dropped by Broner. But that's what worries me. Yes, Broner's a lot smaller, not as strong as Spence.
And this was later round, though. You got to remember, this was later round.
And with one shot.
Yeah, with one shot. Yeah. I'm hoping, is it a thing that people, first we want a great fight. That's the first part, right? And I think it will be. It probably has the potential. And you're saying the 7-round knockout. This could be one of those fights that even like Ruiz and Joshua, right? Yeah. It could be an 8-round, but it could be the kind of fight that people say, we want to see that again.
Absolutely. No, I will never say it's going to be an easy fight.
Right.
I say he'll get him in the 7th round, but I think it's going to be an attrition thing because I think he'll be able to touch him over time. He's so powerful, eventually he'll break him down. But I don't see him coming and blowing Porter away. No, nobody has an easy fight against Porter.
This is what I hope that Porter hasn't spent, because Porter, they talk a lot of trash. So I'm hoping this is one of those things where you just haven't spent more of your time concentrating on talking trash, out monologuing the other guy,
trying to become a superstar.
Yeah, trying to become the saying the smart. Yeah, okay, you sound smart and stuff like this. But now, I got the last smart aleck word in. The weigh-in on Friday should be really something. I don't think Porter will do that, though, not to cut you off. Yeah,
I think he feels disrespected.
Well, he should.
In all the build-up of the fight, he's played second tier.
He's been the B-side.
Spence has told him to his face he's going to knock him out. I mean, if you look at the face-off, everybody is disrespected and wrote this man off, which, although I don't have him picked to win, I know a guy like that can fight, has a level of determination coming in, and a little bit of an attitude. I know you talked about when you had Ivan Robinson on the show. He talked about being disrespected by Arturo Gatti, and how that drove him. And I mean, you could see the difference because I got to watch Ivan Robinson since he was an amateur. And like I told him that day, I've never seen him come out and fight a guy like he was mad at him. Yeah. And if you see from the opening bell, he was on him like white on rice.
Right.
And so sometimes, when you got to watch yourself in the build up to the fight because Porter feels disrespected and he's sure of himself. He has a point to prove, and that may fuel him to come out and fight with everything he has.
Now, with when you start thinking, you said, okay, corners, right? Derrick James, Spence Jr. Dad, corner, right? Yeah. Porter's over here. Now, mine, I don't know for sure, but someone told me they brought in somebody else to work with him.
Yes, they brought in Barry, I can't think of Barry's last name. He's Lamont Peterson's trainer.
Okay.
Barry Hunter.
Very
good trainer from Washington, D.C.
That lets you know.
And it's not, I watched the interview with Barry Hunter talked about that. He said, I'm not new to Sean Porter. I've worked some of his professional fights early on. And I trained him at the Olympic Training Center as an amateur. So we have a history.
Okay.
So basically, it's not a new guy coming.
Not to get to know.
He's going back to his roots.
Okay.
So, I mean, that does add a high boxing IQ to his corner.
And that's what I'm seeing now. That's what I'm, when you got a guy who's
he's in camp with him the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. That's what I mean. When I heard that, I think Eddie Mustafa, I'm not sure, but one of the fighters, I don't know, it was Eddie Mustafa or Roy Jones. Somebody told me that. But the thing about it is now, that's how serious they're taking this thing. This is not a thing where they're saying that, I think I can beat him just on my ability. That means I put together. I remember, and I say this, I remember when my brother fought Joe Frazier the first time, right? And you brought in, you had Archie Moore, Sandy Sadler, of course, Dick Sadler and Kid Rapides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys that lightweight, featherweight, light heavyweight, welterweights, and everybody,
give you every
aspect of it and what you got to do. Because Joe Frazier was that guy that you had to be prepared for. Mm-hmm. And he was, right? And they put every scenario together. Now, with this fight here, that's exactly what they're going to have to do, because we know that Errol Spence is the stronger of the fighters. We're assuming that Errol Spence is the stronger of the fighters.
He seems to be a little better school.
A little better school. But now, all of a sudden, it's like a thing, does a horse, let's say you don't trade horse in the middle of the stream, but they're not. Yeah. Because you're saying the guy
they're refining.
They're refining, exactly. Not putting it out there. I'm not putting new wheels on this bicycle. We're going to put new spokes on it to make it look a little bit prettier. Mm-hmm. Porter, everybody, and this is some of the emails I had gotten from people. They saying that, he was giving a gift against, I think it was Garcia. He's giving a gift against another guy out there in California. But this is the thing about
you guys.
Yes, he fought in California a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that maybe he didn't take those guys. Listen, when you've been considered going against guys like Broner and a couple of other guys he's been against, you may look at.
I don't know that he took Danny Garcia lightly, but I don't think anybody has to apologize for Danny Garcia giving him a run.
No, not at all.
He's not an orthodox guy. I mean, how many guys do you know turn their head and throw a left hook on purpose?
On purpose. Yeah. I mean, Danny it's a shame Danny's not on this card, really, because, if you're going to have a display going, it would have been a great display. They have him. And then they used to do that years ago. They had fights actually where Pernell Whitaker may have been fighting on the fight, but then there was the next guy that was going to pass fights. Pernell Whitaker was on the undercard.
Don King mastered that.
Mike
Tyson's undercards were full of his future opponents.
Right, future opponents. And that's the whole idea. We don't tend to do that anymore because the promoters are looking at the last bottom line dollar. Mm-hmm. And I know the one thing about DK, as much as he loved the money and having worked with him, for him and with him, I knew that he was always working on his next show.
Absolutely.
That night,
he had that longevity.
He told me one night before we were sitting in Vegas, he says, "Hey man, I'm not thinking about tomorrow night." He said, "I'm thinking about the fight in March. This might have been January, right?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, No, because if this goes off the way it's supposed to go, I'm selling the one in March, right? That's the whole idea. Now, I don't see anybody on it. Well, they got Benavidez and Darrell, but two bigger guys. Mm-hmm. So there's nobody that I've seen so far. There's one other fight that's on there. I think they're opening
I just don't think promoters well for you.
No, they don't. That's what I mean.
They're making the fighters do their job for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So it would have been nice to have had, I'll say this, maybe a guy like Garcia against, I wouldn't say yet because he's not a title. So you could just get him a nice durable opponent for people to get a chance to look at him and see what does he look like, The
one thing I don't understand about Danny Garcia, he's a Puerto Rican American on the East Coast. Why don't you market him that way? He fights out west all the time. There's a huge Puerto Rican following in both New York, Philadelphia, Jersey. Now he's fought in Brooklyn, but Atlantic City is 45 minutes from him.
I've never figured that out yet.
I don't understand why Al Heyman promote Danny Garcia at Atlantic City. There is no Arturo Gatti right now. He'd be the guy.
Yeah, sometimes though, as promoters and having to wear that hat many times, you can look at a certain guy and say, well, okay, he has this, he has that, but he doesn't have that. You know what I mean? And
he don't have blockbuster star quality. Yeah, and I don't think he does anything great. He does a lot of things well. But he's a Puerto Rican, and Puerto Ricans get behind Puerto Rican fighters.
Yeah, that's true.
He's coming to fight no matter who he fights. And they're going to come and support him no matter who he fights.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they haven't been able to make a marriage between Atlantic City and Danny Garcia at this point.
Let me say hello to Darren and hello Nino, and we're going to talk about the September 27th fight in a minute. The show up at the Battleship New Jersey. I'm going to bring that up because there's some other questions I have that I want to tell people about also as well. And I want to say to Billy Willis, Tyrone, of course, and Raymond. Thank you guys for tuning in. Raymond Brown. Okay, and Truman. Hello, guys. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in with us. I want to say that when you start looking at guys like a Danny Garcia, who I figure should get, me personally, well, now, Spencer's already said he wants Pacquiao if he wins this fight. Which I don't think.
Very slim chance he's getting Pacquiao.
Yeah, I really do believe the fight that's going to happen, and I may be wrong, but I know Bob. I don't know Heyman as well, but I know Bob. But I do know that if the fight means money for Pacquiao and Crawford.
Well, I was talking about the Crawford fight.
Yeah, that's going to be the
fight.
And
he said he's met with Heyman. I don't see what does a Spence fight do for Pacquiao?
Nothing. Other than he passed his payday. I mean, he passed his pocket. Yeah. But after a while,
he's going to get a nice payday no matter who
he fights. He's going to put 10, 12, $15 million in his pocket regardless. And I think now he's learned how to handle money. That big money kind of messed him up early on, So later on down the line, you start appreciating things a little bit more because it's a little bit more difficult. But in the meantime, in discussing this part, what we're talking about now, if Spence beats him, okay, you want Pacquiao. Now, because I
could see Pacquiao fighting Garcia before he fights Spence.
I could too. Because
they're both with Heyman.
But you know what that says to me? And I just talking about the boxing game and how it works. It's like Spence is saying now, I need to make more money.
Absolutely.
You're right. It's like
your window at the top is very short.
Yeah, I need to make more money. My money fight. Because
Floyd has educated these
yes,
fights.
He has.
They want to make a tough man competition where you just fight whoever for whatever. No. These guys are trying to secure their future.
So he knows that if Pacquiao gets knocked off, that's dead. Even the guy that beats Pacquiao won't make any more money. To be honest with you, I mean, unless it's an aerospace, but then he won't make any more money.
He'd be a 40-year-old man.
He'd be a 40-year-old man, and then you can say, well, this is but that just means that the rest of those guys were nothing. So now, who's going to pay $5 million to see you fight Thurman again? We'll fight Thurman or to fight any of those guys. Like you say, when you got now, what has to happen because they haven't spent the time, and this is kind of what happened to the heavyweights though. In the 90s and the early 2000s, nobody did anything to bring up the heavyweight division. Not at least not here in America. Well, the Europeans got hold to it, and Klitschko got that title, and you see where it stayed over there. I
hate to say it, I think New Jersey played a very pivotal part in that. What do you mean? Don King got locked out of New Jersey, and so did Bob Arum simultaneously.
Yeah.
That killed Atlantic City boxing.
Yeah.
Atlantic City boxing was on top of the world at that time.
In the casinos.
And who made it that?
Yeah, they did. Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Who was signed to Don King.
And
we had a little remnant. We had Bob Arum brought your brother.
And he brought in Mercer and Morrison and some other guys.
What promoter had a big name heavyweight after that? I mean, we had those little heavyweight explosions with Cedric Kushner, but nobody that can fight in Boardwalk Hall.
Well, the thing about it, as we said before, we had 4 or 5 fights. People came in Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, Thursday night, Friday night, and sometimes Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that was they don't do that in Vegas now. Yeah. That's unheard because why? There's nobody that draws them in. I knew guys used to buy a fight to the Tyson fight, right? Saturday night. But they came in town Tuesday, Wednesday, gambled, or whatever, but they bought a ticket too. You're quite welcome, and thank you for those cookies with it. Great. I wish I could pronounce the name of them, but they were great. And thank you. But I think that guys would buy tickets on a Tuesday night to come there for Wednesday, Thursday, just for the fights to be there.
Vegas still does that.
Well, yeah, they do have a couple of fights on Tuesday.
Usually when they have a big fight, there's a fight the day before.
Yeah, sometimes Thursday too.
And sometimes free. Golden Boy put on a free show.
Is that right?
For their big show.
Well, some of them should be free.
Yeah.
They're not that good. Yeah. But I mean, I remember that guys would buy tickets. They came here because they were here for those nights. It's okay, I go to fights, right? And I read about the $1,000 ticket for the Tyson fight or the Holyfield, whoever it might have been. But that's the interest that was here.
Yes.
I mean, we just cannot seem to generate that interest anymore.
In my opinion, it's just because promoters aren't promoting.
Yeah, they don't. Well, they don't.
You can't come. Those big fights you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those fighters were here for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yes.
The camp was here. The promoter was here. Now they're trying to bring microwave shows. They show up the day before the fight, check in the hotel, walk down to the fight tomorrow night, and the same night they on their jet out of here. You can't promote a fight like that.
I remember Larry Holmes and Riddick Bowe, and we did the same thing. Yeah, we come in that Saturday before the fight, set up training camp Monday. People came out, lines, they took pictures. They got to know the fighters. But they don't know anybody. Like I'm wondering. I got a Dan Raphael or one of the guys, maybe it was Michael Wood. Someone actually said, "Well, how many people you think this fight would generate?" I said if it does 350 to 400,000 people, it has to be a success, considered a success, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure what the purses, the fighters are getting, so I don't know. You multiply that by
Heyman, they're high.
Yeah, so if they're probably getting between $4 and $5 million for this fight. I don't see Porter is probably taking less money to be the B side. I mean, more money. For like this, as much money to be the B side of this thing, because he understands. Hey, man, okay, make this guy. If I beat this guy, I just move up the thing. But if it gets 350, 400,000, that has to be considered. Pacquiao, I think, did just about 400,000 when he fought Thurman, but that was Manny Pacquiao. If this fight does under 200,000 people, it's a bust.
But here's what you got to look at. I think we've all been jaded by the Mayweather numbers.
Yeah,
nobody's doing those numbers now.
But Manny had somebody that people wanted to see him beat him. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, he was like Ali. We'll pay to see you get beat. It never happens. He said, keep paying, keep buying, because guess what? You're not going to see it. So
and to be honest, I don't think this fight, if Spence wins it, makes him that blockbuster star.
No,
still.
It doesn't.
He has to fight. Crawford's going to do it. You know what I mean?
I was one of the guys that I was talking with, another one. I said, this is the thing about it. Sometimes you have to take a page from the old guys, right? Back then in the 70s, it started in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when I went to the 2000s. We had the shows like the Johnny Carson shows, the night shows.
You got to know the fighter.
You got to know the fight. They went on these shows.
You took my point because I was going to say which one of these guys has a big personality.
Not a one. You go on and you create. I remember, and this is to say that we fought. George's first fight was we fought the kid in Sacramento, right? When first comeback fight, and but the story was you've been out 10 years, right? Yeah, people knew George from doesn't know 10 years later there's a whole new group of people. But Johnny Carson was like, no, I remember this guy from the 70s. Bring him on. Now you get a chance. Now the crowd says, oh, I remember this guy. Now there's a buzz going again.
In my opinion, what made your brother so big at that point was a turning point. You remember you on the inside.
Yeah.
So on the outside looking in, he was trying to drop weight. He was trying to get
exactly.
Then I remember all of a sudden on a Tuesday night fight one night, he was sitting there with a bowl of hamburgers in front of him. And he said, I'm not worried about losing no weight. I'm a heavyweight.
Yeah,
I'm going to be a heavyweight,
that's
and I'm going to eat all I want. And I think when he took that approach, that made him this likable blockbuster star. And he played to the average middle-aged American.
Man, that's what you do. I mean, you have to create. And I
Floyd
told them
became Money Mayweather.
Like
there has to be a moniker outside of what you do.
Ali was the greatest, right?
The mouth.
Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson became Iron Mike. Like they go. So now, but Ray Leonard was, he was the first golden
America's
darling.
Darling. Sugar Ray.
And then Oscar was the golden boy.
Yeah.
See, there are no monikers on these guys. None at all. So what has to be done? And I blame again.
That's
Heyman
failed.
Yeah, he failed at that.
Failed, yeah.
But this is the thing about this.
Where's the 24/7 for these guys?
Yeah, none. Well, HBO's gone now, so I mean,
they had the
PBC does something.
They called it something else on Showtime too. But I mean, that was Floyd's original idea. It was. Like, why don't you piggyback off of that?
Yeah, PBC has this thing that comes on Fox. I think after football games or something like that. But I don't think football people are not paying much attention to these guys because they don't know
to the next game.
There's another football game on these channels. And there's 3 on Sunday night. There's 3 or 4 more of them that's going on. If you got that package, you're never going to turn the channel.
See, what HBO and Showtime did, which was brilliant, is that they ran those specials on a week where they had another fight.
That's right.
And before you watch the fight, or they would do a pay-per-view replay. You would see the 24/7, and then you would see the pay-per-view replay for last week. So you had boxing fans that were going to give you an hour to 2 hours of their time anyway,
and watch
so you could put it on then and market it.
And you make it look crazy. Make it crazy. People go like, "Oh, they're not getting along." Well, that's all right, but television, you have to create the drama. But I remember these guys like that. It got to the point I got to know all the guys at the Carson show, the guys at the Letterman show, and all the other talk shows that was on. They called and said, "Wait, can you get George over here?" It got to a point. See, and they did the same thing with Mike. You know what I mean?
But those guys had something about them that helped the talk show.
Yeah, they did.
They're not out there to just plug you.
No. They needed that audience.
Yeah,
you got to bring an audience with you. But you need people with you that can do those things. I would be on the phone sometime. I'm telling you, man, 18 hours a day calling people, calling this to do this. Can you do this? Nobody works like that because mostly what I've started to see now is that when I look at some of these guys' corners or their training camps, you got the guys in there that's trying to be bigger than the fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they want to be seen on television too. That's no good.
I just saw that, unfortunately, with Devin Haney's dad. He just came out and made a statement about after his win at the post conference. Has nothing to do with Floyd. They asked him about his proudest moment for his son. Naturally, your son just won a world title. So
Yeah, right.
No, the proudest moment for my son was when he sparred Floyd Mayweather and Floyd couldn't touch him.
Yeah, see what I mean?
When he was getting ready for the Conor McGregor. Like, okay, so you're bragging about your son having a good sparring day against a 41-year-old Floyd Mayweather.
Right. He just won the world title, but that's the best. This is what you're going to bring.
And what was the soundbite? Nothing Devin Haney said was the soundbite. Now his dad saying something about Floyd was the soundbite. Now everybody's looking at his dad. Is your son the star, or are you trying to be? Well,
that was kind of like, what was it, the railroad? I think him and his dad for a while, they had that issue going on too. You know, everybody was more afraid who's the fighter, the dad or the fighter.
Yeah,
see, that's what I mean. Everybody else wants to be the star, but the star is the guy that's getting inside the ring. And like I said, I don't know. You know, we don't know the outcome. We're expecting to see a good fight. If you're a Sean Porter fan, you know, you're saying that Porter can win. If you're a Errol Spence fan, you're saying Errol Spence is going to knock this guy out. Because personally, if I have a personal thing, because Derek James and I are very close, been close for years. He hasn't boxed on shows with me and traveled around the world with me and on shows. I'm pushing more for Derek,
for your home
to
guy.
continue to keep going up. But I do know, but I have enough sense to know how this, like you said at the start, how this fight game goes.
Yes.
There's no such thing as an ironclad.
You still got to go win the fight.
Yeah, because everybody thought Buster Douglas was going to lay down for Mike Tyson. You know,
he had other ideas.
He had other ideas, and that's what's going to happen. Now, so we don't know, you know, who do you think is going to win? I don't know. But that's going to be next week. We'll be able to talk. This is going to be surprising because somebody's going to tell me that I was wrong, or somebody's going to tell me I was right. Somebody's going to tell you was right, or somebody's going to tell you was wrong. But that's the fun. That's what makes boxing. Like I said before, barbershops, beauty shops, bars, everywhere else you go. Hey, that's what makes it fun. And
they won't have to look for each other.
Yeah,
we know that.
No,
Should be an
action-packed fight. Now, there's another fight on that same card. Benavidez and Durrell. Interesting fight. I mean, you know, I know Durrell very well.
I like what he's saying lately.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of interviews of his. He looks extremely serious.
He's dead serious, I think.
And he came out and said the same thing they're saying about Errol Spence about David Benavidez. He said, this guy is not who y'all making him out to be. And he sees something that he feels he's going to expose.
Well, I tell you what, I know that in the past, and having been up, I was up in Flint at this place up there. They had a nice gym inside. I think they moved to Florida since that time, but they had a nice gym in their home that they taking their money and develop for the kids there. Great thing. I liked it in Flint. So I got to know them, right? And we stayed in contact with each other. So I do know that maybe prior to that, they saw because they fought here, if I can remember right. They fought here in Atlanta.
Yeah, they fought at the Taj Mahal at that time.
Right? Yeah. And so, but I think they kind of saw the lights. You know what I mean? They saw the lights before, and then the lights got bright. You start thinking that it's all me. I'm just doing this. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But the other guys wanted to be where you are.
Yeah.
And that sometimes can be a problem.
Sometimes it happens too quick for a fighter.
Yeah, it does.
And it has to me, and this is just not just fighting. This is professional sports altogether.
Yeah.
There has to be some education that comes with it.
Oh, man.
You don't just take a fighter and say he can fight, put him in position, get him these millions of dollars, and think that he's going to know how to handle himself and continue to be hungry and get up in the morning and run and fight.
I mean, well,
there has to be some educational preparation for him getting it.
You look at the NBA, right? Not so much the NFL, but the NBA and NFL too, but the NBA more because you got 18, 19, 20-year-old boys coming in, young men rather, coming in, and they're making, $3 million minimum, I think, of $2.5-3 million a year. And then they go from that to $5, to whatever the next contract is.
They get a huge contract.
But they've been taught everything about basketball, but very few are taught about life, money, taxes. Those things.
And we know in a fight game, you don't want to teach them nothing because everybody wants to separate them from their money.
That's what they do. But the only thing that I think it was a Trouble Man movie, Marvin Gaye wrote in the song, it said, there's only 3 things that's for sure: taxes, death, and trouble. Yeah. Right? Those 3 not properly presented they're going to cause you trouble. That's what you're going to have. Those 2 rather, and you're going to have trouble. But Durrell and I don't hear much about his brother. But I mean,
he seemed as he was here for the Clarissa Shields fight.
Oh, okay.
And he was around, but I haven't heard anything about him fighting either.
Now you brought up an interesting question because I always hear you guys don't talk about the women. Now, I admit I don't follow. Clarissa, you have to, but that was two. You have to know because what she did in the Olympics and what she's done now.
And she's going to move up and try to fight for another title.
But there was another girl a couple of weeks ago. I don't know her name, Heather or something like that. I don't know whether she's foreign, but I think she's won like 4 or 5 titles herself at this point in the game. The women's boxing, and I think a card like this one with Darrell and those, Darrell and those guys as well as Ford and Spence, I think this would have been a good time to have had Clarissa on the card. I mean, I understand she thinks she's a main event fighter. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. But we know how.
But your reach isn't there yet.
Your reach is not there. But I think that to have taken her and maybe put her right before the main event on that card would have been such an impact for women's boxing, man.
And see, we've seen that done, but we've seen it to me with a novelty fighter. Don King would do it with Christy Martin years ago. Yeah. Clarissa Shields ain't no Christy Martin.
No.
You putting a real fight in a real fighter.
She's for real, man.
I think if you done that, what you just said, I think that would elevate women's boxing to astronomical. You'd have so many little girls actually get to see it and get inspired.
And get inspired by that. I mean, it's in athletics in general, because the biggest problem we have these days with some of the young boys and the young girls is that they stand behind the house, they're in the house, they're on television, they're on those cell phones, or they're on the computer,
video games.
There's someone had a few years ago, I don't know whether it was Obama, Michelle, someone had just get up and move, right?
That was Michelle Obama.
So now that's gone because they're gone. So nobody else seems.
Well, Donald Trump ain't gonna tell you nothing about no working out.
Nobody else seems to have taken their platform, right? So what I would like to ask, and then we had there used to be a thing called the president. I was on the council called the President's Council for Physical Fitness, right? Back then, they had that for a number of years, and it was just a title, but you were part of something. So there was always
the gym teachers in school.
You kept the kids active. Boxing is that kind of a sport, though, that a kid doesn't have to participate on a competition level, but if you can get them in the gym early,
the discipline.
The obesity problems that we tend to have with the kids, the discipline problems we tend to have with the kids, the educational problems we tend to have with the kids. I think boxing, as I always said, can contribute to that better than any other sport.
I'm a product of that. And when I was in second, third grade, I was getting sent home from school so much my mother refused to come get me. She started sending my grandfather to come get me. And my grandfather was a boxing man. And I mean, they was calling me hyper, wouldn't let me have sugar, talking about giving me behavioral medication and everything. And the only thing that fixed my problem was I started going to the gym 6 days a week.
That's what I mean.
And it kind of just relaxed me.
And I really believe it. It's got the PAL program. We had a meeting today with the mayor of Atlantic City, Frank Gilliam, and about a program that we're starting called Atlantic City Walk of Fame, right?
And they got that grant.
Yeah.
So there's some money for the boxing
program. But one of the things that we're going to contribute funds from the Walk of Fame at boxing now. The Walk of Fame is going to be contributed to the PAL because it's important that we get the kids here in Atlantic City back involved and back in love with their community.
And you have 2 good young fighters up at Atlantic City PAL right now, amateurs, and Rodney Brooks and Monte Hendricks, 2 guys that I think are going to be able to revitalize this area of local boxing.
Well, that's and speaking of local boxing, so next was September 27th, Friday. They got the event down at the on the board on the boat with Nino and the Jersey Joe Walkout Fund, September 27th, Friday, and so I'm going to talk about that, and I want to say hello to Oscar Como, of course. And Papi, Papi is in Nigeria. He's one of the first guys that come on. Papi Pongo. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But hello, Papi. And I know over your time, it's like, if I think, what is it, like early in the morning sometime over there. So thank you for tuning in. He's one of the first guys that always comes on. And so now we got Ed, who's that?
Ed Holmes.
Ed Holmes, okay.
I'm coming back. I got cleared to fight and I'm 52 years old. Look at my profile. I'm the last fighter that Coach Roger Mayweather trained me for 3 years. Stay tuned.
Well, it's funny you should say that because Nigel being applied for a boxing license but they turned him down.
Sit down, Nigel.
They turned him down. But I mean, the good thing about guys like this, though, which means that they're talking about getting their bodies together.
Exactly.
So
that's why. Stay out of the ring.
But stay out of the ring. I mean, if you can find another 55-year-old man to go against a 62-year-old, actually, if I'm 55, I want to fight a 65-year-old guy, or maybe 70, because I don't want nobody faster than me. But
Even still,
getting punched is not fun, even at 17.
Yeah.
But Friday night, is September 27th. You're going to have one of the greatest. I think this is like, this is a Hall of Fame class that they're going to be. Larry Holmes. I mean, come on, Bernard Hopkins. I think Danny's going to be there. My understanding, Danny Garcia may be there. We've got Nate Miller, also cruiserweight champion. The White Kwawi. Junior Camden Bussell. He's going to be. This is like Commissioner Larry Hazard's going to be there. As one matter of fact, I think that's part of this amateur program that they're presenting there. It's a fundraiser for the Jersey Joe Walcott statue, and it's going to be on the New Jersey Battleship, New Jersey. But I think someone told me that they changed the name, but it's still called. It as the Battleship, New Jersey in Camden. It's a fundraiser. It's a great event to support your kids. And again, as we just talked about. You want your kids to be involved in your community. I think it's going to be like 20 fights, Nino said. Nino is actually going to be the host of the event tonight. And I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to that because it gives me a chance to see all the guys that, that I don't get a chance to see that much. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. It'll be a nice event. I think it starts at 6, maybe 6 o'clock that evening, 6 or 7. And it's probably going to be a couple of hours. But listen, guys, as I said before, if you are what they call autograph or a memorabilia person, Michael Spinks. Oh, I can't forget. How could I forget the Jinx? So how could I forget that?
And all those guys he named are very approachable.
And they're all Hall of Fame boxers. This was an NFL. So it's like you can go to an NFL game and I get this many Hall of Famers in there. The guys on the field because that's where the talent is. But this particular night, bring your cameras, come out, support these young men. It's going to be a fun event. I'm really looking forward to it. So, and Nino has been promoting this thing for the last 2 or 3 months now, and I'm sure it's going to be a success. And we start with Jersey Joe. And then the next thing you know, there's a statue of maybe Arturo Gatti. Somebody's putting something together on him. You never know. I mean, both of these guys were very instrumental in boxing and the sport of boxing here in the state of New Jersey, around the world for that matter, but in the state of New Jersey. And I just think it's going to be a very great program. You can bring the young kids out. They can meet the champions as well, take pictures, and it just should be a very fun event. So that's September 27th, which is this coming Friday night on the Battleship, New Jersey. Before we leave, I must talk about this fact. I'm tired of it, but I'm talking about it because I have to. And again, all the conversation is being talked about Joshua and Luis. Now, I'm understanding that Luis has not even gone to the gym yet.
It doesn't look like it.
No, I haven't.
It loooks like he's still on his victory lap.
He's still doing victory tours now. So now my thing is this. Okay, you say I took the fight on short notice the last time, 6 weeks or whatever it was, and you came in, you won this fight. Now this guy's preparing directly for you now. Nobody else unless you hurt yourself, and then if you hurt yourself, there's no fight. Mm-hmm. The fight's taking place over in Saudi Arabia, somewhere over that way, yeah. Abu Dhabi, somewhere like that. But it's over there. It's a long way over there. Now, which means that you're probably going to have to go over there for about 2 weeks or 10 days to train, to get acclimated.
Either that or show up.
Yeah,
at the
weigh-in, one of the two.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to have to get acclimated somewhere. Now, is that a recipe for disaster?
I think so. And everything I've seen with him, and like I said, we're outsiders when outside looking in. I don't know him personally. I don't know what his normal training habits are. And I mean, that plays a part.
It's like it's Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, it looks that way, but some people's body types are different. But what I can say is everything that he's shown has lent itself to him being focused on other things besides the fight.
Yeah.
And if he thinks that Anthony Joshua is going to come in and give it to him after the way he embarrassed Joshua last fight, he may be in for a long night.
Hey, and I joke about the Baskin Robbins because George used to always say I trained at Baskin Robbins and Burger King and all the other places. But so we know that, and that was
he looks physically bigger.
Yeah,
than he did last fight.
Way bigger. But it means to me that you're not training the way you're supposed to train. I don't have a problem with your weight, really. But let me know that you're in the gym, that you're training.
If you can move with that weight out,
you can. No problem. You got it. And so, it's a big fight. It's the last fight a major fight anyway,
Of the year.
And what a way to go out. If he retains the title, that's great. But if you lose it, then you got another new champion all over again. And now he just said history.
And I don't think they give him the rubber match, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. I don't.
They're going to close the door on him so quick.
But everybody says that he has to make it a dog fight, and we'll be talking about it in the next coming weeks as well.
I think he's the better skilled fighter.
Yeah, I
properly
agree.
prepared.
Properly prepared. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't care who you are. You fight a world class fighter and you don't prepare, it can get rough for you.
Now, before we, this is one question. There was two things that someone sent to me the other day, right, in my email, and they said we always talk about knockout punches, right, but we never mention guys like Mike Weaver, Sonny Liston. And I forget who. I think it was Zora Foley was one of the other guys. Now,
Mike Weaver, one of the greatest left hooks in the history of the division.
Mike Weaver was a puncher. I mean, people don't understand. He had the name Hercules for a reason.
He was on the verge of being knocked out by Carter Truth Williams, and he raced down all that with one left hook.
And not to mention what he did to the other kid up in what's his name? Was it John Tate? I think it was. Yeah. And Michael Dokes, one of them guys. He just creamed
him. Pretty sure. And he had Holmes out.
And he had Larry out. So. And sometimes we may miss some of these guys because we're so concentrated on them. And Mike was champion, so it's not like we didn't. But sometimes as we talk about that superstardom, Mike didn't.
He couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, he didn't get to the level. Yeah, right. He didn't get to that level of where people started saying Mike Weaver. Mm-hmm. But believe me, I don't take him for granted. Mike Weaver, John Tate, Michael Dokes, all those guys. There's a dream, but they achieved a dream to become a champion.
Tony Tubbs.
They got it.
Tim Witherspoon.
All those guys. Pinklin Thomas. There's a ton of them, and that's why I say that they achieved that dream. And some of them, once they get to dream, they stop dreaming, which means that they go back and they're just not taking it serious. Other things take away their minds, and that's why they wind up. But that's why
our guy Bruce Seldon.
Bruce Seldon, yeah. But that's why guys like Ali, George, Joe Frazier, Larry Holmes, Tyson, to a point, they stayed on top for a while because why? They kept that hunger in them.
They were able to maintain their focus.
Maintain their focus and wanted to be great. So that's what you have to have. But anyway, look, as I said, Marty Schuler, James's brother, was scheduled to be here. He couldn't make it. He had to kind of change things, but he's going to be getting his promoter's license here in Atlantic City. So we're going to have another local guy. He's from Philly, but he's going to be a local. He's going to have a deal at the Showboat over here, an exclusive deal for, I understand, for about 8 or 9 shows next year. We'll get your schedule. I think his first fight's going to be around December. We'll let you know about that. But as always, we want to thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy what we're talking about. And whether you're an Aerospace fan, Sean Porter, and wherever you come, if you're watching us, whether we got people in Australia, we got people in Nigeria, England, Zaire, Japan. We get them from all over if you're tuning in. So we want to thank you. And hopefully, the guy you picked will win. Okay? If not, we'll be here to talk about it again next week. So as always,
we're here to tell you you're wrong.
All right. And that's Julio Sanchez. Remember that. Julio Sanchez said that.
And fried me if I was wrong.
But anyway, we want to thank you for tuning in, watching us, and enjoy us again. And we'll see you at the fights.
Oh, I forgot yours ain't like mine. I don't have a touch screen. And I could have done it.